Wired. Unplugged.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wired Unplugged, episode number 34. Jake is in a hotel edition. So, hi, Gary. Good to see you again.
Hello, Jake. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing okay, all things considered. Actually,
where are you?
Where in the world is Jake Kulkowski?
Where in the world is Jake right now?
I'm in Montreal, and the sun is rising, as you can see. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll be able to see that I am. The seagulls flying past, the sun is coming up, so the lighting's going to change. And if you're listening on like Spotify or whatever, we do have a complete video accompaniment to your podcast experience, which you can find on YouTube, by the way. So you might want to check that out. And you can see me. I'm not always in hotels. I think I've been in a hotel for 3 episodes, and it's normally
3 out of 34 is not bad. Like
that's not bad considering I've been. How many times have we been away? Like, a lot. You know,
a lot.
Exactly. And unlike some other hosts of this podcast, you know what I mean? Having a swim on Twitter and that. No, if you want to know what Aaron's up to, because Gary's great, but Aaron is a man of mystery, and you know we don't want to give him too much ammunition when he comes back. You can find out what Aaron's up to by finding him on Twitter. The best way to do that is if you go to twitter.com/wiredunplugged. I think we're both just like tagged in the bio or something, and you can see what he's been up to. He's like living a life. And I know that I'm saying that from like, top floor of some hotel. But
I was about to say, so it says Mr. Worldwide over here, Wish.com Pitbull.
Yeah. I don't think I could pull off a suit like Pitbull.
I think you could, man. Well, I reckon you'd look suave.
I have more hair than him. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's why I've been wearing caps the last 3 episodes. Maybe I'm just trying to get people
Is that going to be the end of season 1 reveal? Is you're going to take your hat off and it's just
I was
completely
Pitbull the whole
there.
time. Yeah, exactly. Well, look, guys, thanks very much, and thanks, Curtis, in advance for putting all of these jingles in, because if you don't do it, which is a completely artistic decision, there's just going to be lots of pockets of silence, which will confuse and upset
I honestly kind of hope he doesn't. I hope this episode is, like, just broken up with us just periodic silences, just nodding along to nothing. Like we're at some kind of silent disco, you know?
It's like a silent disco.
It
is. Now I get it when actors, like, scream at CGI dinosaurs. Now I understand it. We've had quite a busy week. Wired's week is looking busy again. And
they always are.
The thing about the gaming news this week, right, is there's loads of games coming out. Loads.
Yeah, God, it's a lot. Like looking through the list on what's on the docket this week, when you put it to me, I was kind of like, oh boy!
And so I was trying to keep the gaming news, because honestly, if we just looked at the review roundups for the big boys, Gotham Knights, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and this, we'll be here till, well, you'd see the sun go down in the background,
Yeah.
So I tried to keep it to strict news, but there's not many people want to put out big news pieces this week because they're all scared of the insane amount of stuff. Great if you're playing games this week. There's so many things on the way, and we'll go into that in just a little bit. But first, we're going to hit you with the Wired propaganda, which does have a jingle. I can't provide it. Curtis, it's up to you. Please don't let me down. Roll the jingle.
Wired propaganda.
Okay, that was the Wired propaganda jingle that Curtis has definitely put in. Otherwise, it was just silence. Thank you very much, Curtis. Woohoo! So, every week, for 34 weeks consistently in a row, Wired have got some serious updates. Like every week. Yeah. So
keeps us busy, keeps us out of trouble, but more importantly, it keeps you lot at home entertained. And we've got a good amount this week. We're going to kick off with a little bit of a refresh on our Tiny Troopers. You may have been playing it over the past couple of weeks as part of the beta. You may have jumped in and played it on Steam, or as part of the Xbox Insider program, and been a little bit forlorn when it was done. Well, those of you that are members of IGN Prime, I believe it's called, or the IGN subscription service, I have a little bit of good news for you, because as of yesterday, you will have all been given access to that beta as part of your IGN subscription. So enjoy, go play the game.
Amazing.
But even better, because IGN are good folks, and you know, they treat they treat you all very well, subscriber folks, and then we appreciate that. When the game actually comes out, those beta codes that you've been given, they'll just upgrade straight to the full game codes. So basically, you've got access to the beta now if you subscribe to IGN, and when the game comes out, you get the game for free. So look forward to that. Keep a hold of that code. Make sure you get it installed. You get to play the game early, and you get the full thing when it comes out. And, once again, reminder, whole damn thing is cross-play, cross-platform, across all platforms, multiplayer online. So most definitely worth a punt when your mates go pick it up on Switch or PlayStation or whatever, and you're set up with your PC version going, it don't matter, we'll run together. It's fine. Not a problem.
That's crazy.
We can get on this. So that should have gone live yesterday, unless weird things happened, in which case we sound like fools right now, but I don't think they did. So enjoy the heck out of that. While we're on the subject of the future, I've noticed a little bit of a thing. So I keep an eye, right? I don't do the community stuff anymore, but I keep an eye on our general kind of community. Notice a lot of people really, really excited and also kind of questioning, being like, yo, where's the Martha Collector's Edition? Because the Black Label stuff came out, right? That came out like a month or two ago now. And everyone's happy. They've been filling up in people's hands. Shell Out Limited Run for helping out with the American distribution on that. And, a lot of people are like, okay, cool. We've seen Black Label stuff, but Martha, right? Like that Martha edition looks kind of neat.
Yeah.
Well, it's close. It's close. Like I had word with the community team. I was like, yo, y'all got something? Y'all got something? Because a lot of people are asking. And I've got here the actual initial first physical reproduction of the initial prototyping for it. And
I'll try and describe it for the audio listeners.
Brace yourselves. It's big. It's big. And honestly, if you've ordered this thing, go find your Fallout lunch boxes, your LTI statues, and get them off the shelf. You're gonna need to room, okay? your Call of Duty RCXDs, they need to go in the garage, okay, to make room for this. Because I'm not a chunky guy. I'm pretty lithe and thin, but this thing is bigger than me. That's a big box.
I
don't know how. Yeah.
It looks like a box that's
substantial.
It looks like the size of a box a microwave comes in for the audio listeners at home. That's the closest appliance I can liken it to.
I have seen mini fridges smaller than this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
but it isn't just for show. It isn't just for show, and I'm not going to go too hard in because a lot of the actual content is not in this darn thing. But we've got a lovely little pull-out drawer here in which the game lives with whatever format that you're playing on.
That's That's actually sick. Yeah.
And a lovely little tin case there, or a little card case even. That's got the little slot for you to put your copy of the game in.
That's really cool.
The actual thing itself, super durable, really, really thick, and these are magnetized. These are little magnetized doors that you pull on over.
This is so QVC. The way
it really is, isn't it?
With the
and you got your little fabrics and maps on one side, and then
the audio listeners are going to hear that box and go,
they really
that
are.
does sound durable. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You got yourself a lovely little pendant in there, coins up in the top, and a DLC code for PC, because whichever you get by the PlayStation version, you get a PC version as well. And this is where all of the art book and cards and all of the extra cool bits are all going to live in here, layered, which is why it's so deep, is to make room for that drawer at the bottom and that. So we've had a lot of folks going, hey, where on earth is it? It's close. As you can see, there's a lot of parts to that darn thing, and with the usual, similar to the Black Label collection, with regards to Brexit and materials, and we're working with a lot of different companies and a lot of different places to get all of these parts pulled together and sent over. Yeah. They're at the point now where they are sent over, they are together, everything is in there. So right now, okay, cool. It's just getting the wheel cranked and the actual production going. So sit tight. Thank you for your patience. They will be going out soon, and keep an eye on the socials and in your mailers, because that's when you'll get notified when they're on route.
That was good. So you did a very good presentation there in one take, to be
Thank
honest.
you. It was tricky. That thing is very, very big. I hope y'all got room on
bit of a workout there, actually. Yeah.
Speaking of physical products, though, it's not quite over. You may have remembered a couple of episodes ago we mentioned Blackstream Records and the deal that we were going to be setting up with them to handle distribution of some of our vinyls and products. Well, we are going to Polaris. We spoke about this last week. We're going to Germany. We're going to Hamburg. And I did get told off, by the way, viewers at home. If you groaned about my hamburger joke, it's okay. Our resident German Akim also sent me a scathing message going, that was the worst thing I've ever heard. And, I definitely caught some.
Do you know where the hamburger really comes from?
Where's that?
Well, back in the day, Mongol hordes used to get slithers of meat and put it under their saddle and ride with it all day to tenderize the meat. And that became kind of the first iteration of kind of ground beef. And then when they kind of discovered kind of modern day turkey, they had this crazy idea of putting that meat with a flame, and then it kind of became a cooked meat product.
Wait, are you on about Turkey the country or Turkey the animal?
Turkey the country.
Okay. I heard that as the animal, and I got really confused as to
when they met a magical turkey. Yeah.
No, they just looked at a turkey and went, yo, feeling real arsonist right now. I just got to burn something. Right? Like, it was really
that's it. Logical leap. So for anyone who has got issues with Gary's hamburger comment, I would like to try and sort of soothe your woes with that real thing. And then further to that, like they discovered basically the cooked sort of minced beef burger. And then in America, World's Fair happened in a sort of turn of the 20th century or whatever, and where they also invented the Ferris wheel in the same place at World's Fair. Yeah. And also America's largest serial killer, H.H. Holmes, was in his reign of terror. And around that time, in that complete microcosm of chaos, they decided, we want to be able to pick this up easily. We'll just stick it between some bread. And that's how the kind of hamburger was born. There you go.
What a time to be alive. There you go. Wired Unplugged podcast. Educational and entertaining. What more could you ask for?
Anyway, so Polaris. Yeah.
Anyway, Polaris. Home of the hamburger. No, we're not doing that again. The Black Screen folks are going to be there as well as us, and they're going to be physically in Polaris, in Hamburg, in the center, stocking and demonstrating and selling a whole range of the vinyls. Yep. So we got the Lumo one. Right up in here with that lovely double-sided and the lovely. Hold up, I'm no Steve. Steve does physical presentations way better than anyone, but the artwork on this thing.
Oh my god! So for the folks,
so colorful.
Yeah, for people who just listen, how do I describe it? It's like a 1970s prog rock album cover. If you try to,
you know what? Yeah, it's like friendly Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it is. It's like someone has tried to draw 1970s prog rock album cover in a dream, and yeah. It's
and then the big old triple from Arthur as well, which I'm not going to crack open because it also has the lovely slip here. I'm not going to crack that open because I'm
triple vinyl,
triple vinyl, mate. 3 vinyls in that bad boy. Which is a good hefty amount of that soundtrack, which was absolutely great. You know, it featured a wide range of music, where your Femina Rydens and your underwater music and your Septic Voids, who did the Town Light soundtrack as well. So, if you are into your vinyl collections and you're in Germany, it's a niche audience, I know. Are you into vinyl collecting, and are you going to be in Germany from next Thursday till the following Sunday? You know, I get it's a micro audience, but if that is you, come over to our stand, come over, see the Black Screen folks, and get your early hands on these vinyls, and enjoy yourself.
There'll be some social content there, right? There'll be some pictures on there. Yeah, if you want to go to Wired P for production,
all your needs.
Yeah, I couldn't even think of a good like P. I've been doing that for 34 episodes, and I actually just had Wired P for productions. How boring! I didn't even do one stupid joke.
P for PogChamp.
P for pointless burger knowledge. There you go. All right, so yeah, that's cool. So yeah, you can keep it. And again, if you listen to this on the audio front, follow us on Twitter so you can. Well, first of all, see what we look like. That'd be nice. Maybe you don't want to go on YouTube for some reason. Maybe you're just, I don't know. Maybe you're just like a go-getter. You only listen to this in like a private jet, where you only want to listen to the audio feed. Maybe you're a pilot and you have to keep an eye on clouds or whatever they do. And then so you can only listen to us. But then,
Do you reckon people have listened to us while they're flying? That would be neat.
But you know what? Actually, a lot of people listen to podcasts, don't they? On planes, because they can just download a bunch of them, especially if they're doing it on like a Spotify or an iTunes, because it's like, I don't know, 2 megabytes or whatever per podcast, and it's hours of content.
Maybe that's something to ask. Well, where's the weirdest place that y'all have listened to Unplugged? Oh, I want to hear the weirdest.
Yeah, I was looking for people who have listened to us on a boat, but there was no biters. But people do send us pictures on Twitter of them listening to us, like on the big telly. That's always a hit.
On big telly. That's always a good one. Good place.
Big telly, small telly. I think we haven't had like a sort of iPad in a bubble bath moment yet, or at the gym
not yet.
moment. I think they're the classics.
Well, you mean like glass of wine, kind of bored over the bath?
Yes, exactly.
With cucumbers on the eyes, and
exactly.
I don't know how you'd watch it with cucumbers on your eyes, but
you'd listen.
It's your life. You live it.
This is what I mean. So if you're not watching, you're just listening because you've got cucumbers on your eyes, or you're piloting a plane. Then you can go on Twitter. Why
don't put cucumbers on your eyes while you're flying, please.
You're not at the same time.
And
then you can go to the Twitter account and you can see what the vinyls look like. I mean, there's probably well better websites to go and find out what they look like. You can go and buy them, but just look on Twitter.
That's true. Look on that. All right, moving away from the physical propaganda and firmly into the realm of digital propaganda, because we live in the future, my friends. Ooh, there's an event coming up known as The Mix, which also does sound like a really cool DJ Zoo Crew combo.
Yeah.
Welcome to 105, The Mix.
It does sound good. Yeah.
And a good old friend, Birdfather himself, Tomas Sala, is going to be there. He's going to be on there with a nice, good, chunky, big old Bulwark walkthrough. I know Bulwark's been a little bit of a mystery since we announced it.
Come on, it writes itself.
Oh, it's right there. There's a Bulwark through. I'm going to tell the social team to use that. Obviously, it's been a bit of a mystery since we announced it earlier on this year. We got to work once again with Thomas after we launched the Falconeer with him a couple of years ago. Xbox Series X/S launch title, which was bonkers to think about now at the time. Yeah. It was like, holy heck, like, the hell are we doing? This is crazy. But his next title, Bulwark, moves away from aerial combat. It is more... to use someone of his words, being Bob Ross and painting civilization across the world, which is the kind of sentence that only Thomas could really just pull out of nowhere.
Wicked. That's actually so nice as well. Yeah,
it really is. It really is. And having played a fair chunk of it, I can tell you it is a very apt description. But we have been rather light on details. We've been kind of just letting Thomas do his thing and not trying to put too much of a spotlight and distract him while it makes that game. Well, he's put together a lovely video that's going to be present on The Mix, basically giving a bit of a developer talk-through about the game, what it's going to be, some of the early features, and kind of where it is in this very, very early stage. But if you've been fiending for more big-ass bird information, please keep your eyes peeled on The Mix in the next couple of weeks, and keep an eye out for that wonderful Tomas Sala feel that you can't really get anywhere else. And while we're on the subject of the Falconeer, very similar to the Arcade Paradise tease that I gave last week, which, haters, I have not lost my job over yet. There's still time. Still time. I don't think the boss actually watched last week's episode, which is why I probably got away with it. But yes, there is some cool Arcade Paradise stuff coming. Maybe not this month, but maybe super close to this month. There's also, taking a step back into Tomas Sala territory, something very, very exciting for fans of the OG Falconeer that is not related to Bulwark at all.
All right.
In fact, it might even allow you to see the Falconeer from a completely new perspective, and that's pretty much all I'm going to leave on that. So that's it. That's your tease. That's your Gary tries not to break.
You know what? Whenever you do the propaganda segment, you always leave it on a one more thing moment. Actually,
I do. It's what? It's Columbo, mate. You know what I mean? Like, you got to.
Yeah, you've got it. Yeah, no, very, very good. So are we propaganda'd out? That is like.
Yeah, I'm done, mate. I'm spent.
You've ended it on that like pretty interesting little thing. Okay, so look, I'm gonna pray that Curtis does his thing this time again, and we're gonna move on to the.
You know what? No. I'm gonna make a request. No jingles, just duck noises. Duck noises in between every segment. Just ducks. Cool.
Okay, you ready? What will the duck sound like? Right. Theme is the world at large. All right, the news at large. Okay, go. This is the segment of the podcast where we look at the wider world of gaming news. And like I said right at the beginning, there's been a lot of gaming, not news, but there's been a lot of gaming. There's been a lot of games on the way. So, for example, we know, because it's public knowledge, by the way, that God of War is in the hands of reviewers. First impressions are next week, 2 weeks before launch, which is very ballsy. Gotham Knights launches the day of recording. We've got the likes of, we got like Modern Warfare, Persona, these like huge games. And it's just like, because of, what we're trying to say to you, dear listener, is that when there's lots of AAA motion going on, right? A lot of other companies, smaller companies, indie companies,
hell no!
They're a bit reluctant to release a little update on what they're up to because it can be a bit of a monolithic task. So anyway, we have had some news. From some big companies, and there's a lot of horror-focused information floating around. But I'd like to start with a celebration, if you don't mind, Gary, and I'd like your opinion on it, okay?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Well, yesterday, which was, 2 days ago, if you're listening to this, contemporarily, freshly, was the 12th anniversary of the PC Master Race poster child and one of their favorite games ever, Fallout New Vegas by Obsidian.
It was.
And it also coincides with the 25th anniversary of the Fallout series as a whole.
Wow.
There we go.
I wasn't even aware of this. I missed this one. You know what? New Vegas was a really interesting game because when it came out, a lot of people were like, "It's just Fallout 3 but red." And then, but it was kind of like, you know, when you look at the jump between Fallout 2 and Fallout 3 versus the jump between 3 and New Vegas, obviously people were kind of like, okay, it's more of this, and I liked it, or whatever. But since then, like, people look back on New Vegas very fondly. Like, the writing, Obsidian did like really blow the doors off with the writing and the tone of that game, which I think, when you look at it in the Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Fallout 4 Pantheon, like, it stands apart writing-wise to the others. Like you know what, that game deserves. That game deserves the happy birthday. It was. It might have taken it a little while to get that appreciation, but what a game. What a hell of a game.
Well, it was, it can lead to an interesting discussion, depending on, how we want to do it. But, like, the reason that I bring that up is this. So some of this information, I might not be 100%, but I'm 99% right, okay? And I can't just Google it because I'm on my laptop, guys, and you just see me clicking and clacking.
I could Google for you, but I'm more interested in letting you flounder, honestly.
Okay. From what I understand, here's what happened. Fallout 1 came out in, like, the 90s. And it was pretty decent, and that visual RPG in like a post-apocalyptic world, pretty cool. And it was either by like Black Isle or Black Rock Studio, which eventually became Obsidian, right? Because Black Rock, Obsidian is a Black Rock. Anyway, and then Fallout 2 was again in that same style by those same people. Great.
Yep.
So then it didn't fall by the wayside, but there was not another one for a long time. They were working on whatever else.
There were others. You had the likes of Tactics. You had the likes of I forget what it was called now. Was it Brotherhood? There was like a PlayStation, more like an ARPG than a full-on RPG, like a Diablo-ish type action one. Like there were forays into the Fallout universe outside of the main two entries, but none of them were like the big mainline game releases, and people kind of just assumed by the time you'd hit PS2 onwards that the series was just kind of done because those games weren't in style anymore. Like, well,
that's exactly it, and I mean, that there's a renaissance of that type of game now, I guess, and the truth of the matter is that the IP was much like an IP we're going to talk about a little bit later. It kind of fell out of, it wasn't in vogue, right? So Bethesda bought the IP. Probably for quite cheap, to be honest, because like none of the young hip gamers knew what the hell it was. So then they made Fallout 3, but I would argue the vast majority of people, that was the first Fallout game on their radar, right? Yeah, so Bethesda Game Studios made Fallout 3. Okay, so I'm trying to educate you folks at home. So they made Fallout 3, and they made it in the style of their beloved Elder Scrolls series. All right, so that sort of open world, first person or third person RPG. You've played Skyrim, and if you haven't, just come on, buy a fridge.
Everyone's played Skyrim. I'm playing Skyrim on this microphone right now.
Exactly. Yeah. You can play Skyrim inside this podcast. Actually, what happened then was, I think because the hunger for Fallout was such, and Bethesda Game Studios their eyes were firmly fixed on Skyrim. They said to Obsidian, who are kind of like the OG creators of this whole thing, do you want to kind of make something? Even though you kind of made it, it's ours now.
Yeah,
We own
it's
the
ours
IP.
now. But we'll loan it back to you.
We'll loan it back to you to make a game about it. And they were like, using the same engine, which is kind of why, Gary said at the beginning, at first, people were kind of like, this is just Fallout 3, but red. Because it was so close to Fallout 3 that there wasn't really any technological advancements. It was kind of a Fallout 3.5, in terms of the gameplay. But the story and the writing, which is in an RPG, the most crucial thing, was a lot different. So Fallout New Vegas is in Vegas, and it involves a lot of a lot of gang warfare. In fact, what's funnily enough, my partner's favorite game ever is Fallout New Vegas, and so
really?
and because it's a relatively simple game to carry about, I put it on my Steam Deck, and I haven't played New Vegas since it came out. I played it all the way through once, and actually I remember it being good, but being okay, Skyrim now, please. And then, over time, everybody is saying New Vegas is the best one, bro. New Vegas is the best one. And, it's a whole thing. And so...
I never finished New Vegas. I had a really bad moment with the game, and it was my fault, kind of. Where I was playing on a 360 back in the day, and I had one save file.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, there were these, I forget the name now, they're like chipper thingies, like the catsadors or something. They're like giant mosquito bastards. They're awful things. And I ended up, I had one save file, and it was only the one that was being auto-saved over. And I basically had a couple of bad Deathclaw encounters and was running away, and I got hit by these big mosquito things that were floating around outside a door that I'd found randomly in the side of a mountain. I'm like, cool, safety door. I'm not going to get eaten by a Deathclaw. Great. And I walked through the door, and it auto-saved. And then I loaded into the next area, and the poison from the giant mosquito killed me. And then it auto-loaded, and I went through the door and I died. And I basically was just on an endless death loop of it, just loading dead. And I went, okay, well, that's where my traveler died. That's the end of that story.
That's hell.
Literally when it was my own fault. I should have just cleared some hard drive space and been able to have more, but I was being particularly grumpy. But yeah, it is a great game. It really is. I never played any of the DLC, which I know a lot of the Fallout 3 and New Vegas DLCs were hit and miss, but they're really expanded the world. So I don't know. Maybe you're inspiring me, Jake. Maybe I need to go back to New Vegas and check it out.
Maybe it's the right time. And the reason that I brought that up is because there's been a bit of a news story.
Really?
Well, yeah. So Obsidian, since they went on to make kind of don't call it Fallout, but Outer Worlds, right? Which is kind of them saying, this is everything we learned from Fallout New Vegas. But remember, guys, we don't own the IP anymore, so we can't really do anything. So we'll just make our own. And anyway, they're working on Outer Worlds 2 at the moment, as you know. But yeah, Fergus Urquhart said that absolutely. Well, basically, he did the thing that a lot of companies don't really do often, which is he said, look, guys, I'm well up for it. He's the head guy from Obsidian, and he has basically publicly said, you know what? Look, if Bethesda let us, we would love it. So it's kind of a little reach out, like when boxers say, I'd love to fight this boxer, and then the other boxers' management goes, yeah, okay, good. And then suddenly the fight happens. Well, that's kind of the world that we're on. Well, that's a bit of a...
I love that.
Yeah. I thought you'd like that. So that's been a bit of an interesting thing, because like I say, it's weird, because it doesn't seem desperate, but it seems like something that a lot of businessmen don't do. Phil Spencer from Microsoft's a bit cool like that. He'll say, oh, congratulations, PlayStation, on what you've achieved. But typically, PlayStation won't say, nice one, Microsoft, Game Pass is actually sick, They should, but they don't.
They should, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're different behaviors, I guess.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. I just want to bring that up because Fallout is very topical right now, and yeah, it's quite interesting to see the head of a company literally reach out to something like, it's basically saying I miss my ex, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
that's nice, isn't it? So shouts out.
Yeah, I'd like to take her out for a nice meal one weekend, but just for a weekend.
I just want to catch up and see how she's doing. That's basically what they're saying.
Check in on the kids,
Exactly. So shouts out to Obsidian, congratulations, and shouts out to the Fallout team. I'm more of a Skyrim guy myself, but it's still pretty sick. I can't wait for that. Right, so we've got 2 more big bits of news.
Shall we? Do you want to jump on the Resident Evil one first? Because I missed all of that for obvious reasons. I know nothing about the Resident Evil stuff. So
actually, I think is Resident Evil tonight though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
That might be why I missed it then. That might be why I missed it because it didn't happen yet.
It's been confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why. So. Okay. So, Resident Evil. So, for those that don't know what's going on, Resident Evil announced a showcase on Thursday. But weirdly, I guess we're just gonna go into it, aren't we? Resident Evil is
just gonna address the.
Let's finally do it. Okay.
Address the.
My brothers and sisters.
Are we going to address the red pyramid thing in the corner of the room?
Well, what have I been talking about, guys, for like 25 of these 34 episodes? Silent Bloody Hill. Well, guess what?
Peggle.
It happened. It happened. Yeah.
Well,
do you know what? Bring Peggle, but that's my next campaign. I don't know what to do now that Silent Hill's been announced. I don't know what I'm going to do. So, Silent Hill. They just ran Konami, the publisher who own the IP of Silent Hill, randomly did a little tweet like, here we go, there's going to be a Silent Hill transmission coming on Wednesday. This Wednesday just gone, so we're talking about it now. And then, what I did find interesting, though, is a day after that, we'll just leapfrog over that a second. A day after that, Capcom, owners of probably the most prevalent survival horror IP on the planet, Resident Evil, probably the most famous horror video game IP on the planet, right? We're going to do one as well. We're going to do a digital showcase as well, mate, the day after. So I was a bit like, ooh, that's interesting. I wonder if did they even contemplate pushing it? They probably would have done it because it was a week before Halloween, both of them. But interesting that they never spoke about it. Or did the people at Capcom hear rumors, or did the people at Konami hear rumors? And interesting that they're literally going back to back. It's like when you see a Burger King and a McDonald's across each other, and you just go, guys, who's being a bit of a bully here? Anyway.
Yeah. Which one of you is drinking all the milkshake?
Yeah. Hey, that is a hell of a reference. Very, very good. I watched Licorice Pizza, the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie on the plane. So that's it. There will be blood reference for the folks at home. So Resident Evil's to announce a showcase. It did it. The time that you're listening, you can probably go and check it out. We don't know what.
Yeah, you know more than us.
Yeah, you do. The only thing that I know, and I think it's because it's already been spoken about, that they're going to show off. They're going to show off more details about the Resident Evil 4 remake. That's the only thing that we officially know yet. But it's something I think it's the thing that people want to know about. Surely that's the big one, isn't it? People want to know what's going to happen with this.
Like Village isn't that long in the tooth, you know what I mean? Village is a year old at this point. There's been a mainline Resident Evil entry. You know, there's been DLC forward for that. The game's on pretty much every platform now. You know, it's kind of, apart from remakes and maybe expanding the universe as a whole, there's probably not, you know, we're not going to get a Resident Evil 9 announcement, probably, you know. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but it definitely wouldn't be in line with what we'd normally expect. But hey, who knows? Maybe we're all completely off the fucking mark right now.
I'd love it if Resident Evil. Like I've got to say, my personal opinion on these games is that I was a big fan of Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I even like 5.
Yeah.
6, I was getting a bit sick of it, to be honest. And I thought, that's all I thought.
6 was dumb and I love it.
It turns out the internet has a lot of strong feelings about that one, but I just thought, oh my gosh, it's not really for me. And then 7, my gosh. So for anyone that doesn't know what we're on about, Resident Evil's survival horror game, the kind of initiative, like 1, 2, and 3, the very same style. 4 completely changed the game, and arguably Resident Evil 4 is the kind of first over-the-shoulder shooter, which is very, very, very popular now. You see, like God of War has this now. In a lot of these third-person action adventures, took that from Resident Evil 4. Then it changed the game. Then using that same formula, they made 4, 5, and 6. And then they went completely different with 7 and 8, which is a first-person... And it's a lot like a haunted house, isn't it? There's jump scares that are completely like baked in, and Resident Evil 8 is hilarious. Like, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it is very silly. Like, I feel you're one of two minds with Resident Evil, and it's quite interesting because for 4, 5, and 6, they basically threw the horror away and kind of went full on more kind of action with kind of gore, which is fine. You know, that is what it is.
Right.
And the first half of 7, basically everything up until like the oil tanker part in 7, was a lot more like you say, it was a lot more haunted house. It was a lot more OG Resident Evil 1, real good vibes. And then it went a little bit crazy power trip, and it kind of stuck that tone for the rest of it. And I feel like 8 kind of just carried on that. And honestly, you know what? Fair. You know, they embraced it. And they made a really entertaining game with Village. So like,
People loved it, don't they? People loved it. Not the vampire MILF. Well, they do love that, but everyone loves that.
Vampire MILF.
Well, you know, that was like amazing for them because they had like a character. They had like a sexy vampire, and you know, normally they're not very sexy, are they, in Resident Evil? So everyone was like, "Oh my god!" And the internet went wild. It was like a viral moment. Which
I don't know, man. When Chris Redfield punched that boulder in 5.
Yeah, Chris Redfield.
I don't know, man.
Chris Redfield's Mr. Universe at this point. So
him punching a boulder was definitely an awakening for some people, I tell you. Without a doubt.
That's well funny, man. Yeah. So Resident Evil 8 might have DLC. We don't know, but look, we're just speculating. But look, that's one horror. You know, look. You're used to me speculating about horror game IP, aren't you? Because if you're listening to this, God bless you. 34 episodes in, you've heard me talk about Silent Hill for a very, very long time. And all lack thereof. Well, not anymore. All right, so we did it.
So I'm interested in this, Jake, because contrary to belief, dear listeners, you'd like to think that this was a very structured show where we would sit down and kind of give our takes, and you know, we'd all be aware of what we thought about all of the subjects we talk about well in advance. And if you hold that belief, you are wrong, because we have not spoken about any of this in the slightest at all. And I'm going to be super. So obviously, I've not been on quite as many episodes. I'm the backstop. I'm the come in when needed.
You're like the cool substitute teacher, though, that people like, you know.
I am. I turn the chair around and I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
But much like Jake, I mean, the Silent Hill series, I think, is for people of our kind of age and our kind of demographic and game. Like, just appeal. If you're of our age and you had the same console route that we had and you like horror games, Silent Hill has been a formative series at a number of times. And I am a massive mark for it. And I'd kind of gone the opposite, where Jake had been kind of really hoping and kind of preying on every piece of rumor and thread for the past like decade. I'd kind of been, Konami's not doing games anymore, they're dead, there's never going to be anything. I'd made peace with it. I was like, there's not going to be any more Silent Hill, but you know what, I've got my memories. Yeah. And then last night, Jake, they turned around at the beginning of this week and they went, hey, we're giving you news about the future of Silent Hill on Wednesday, which is why we're recording on a Thursday. We thought there's no way we can record before this thing. Like, we need
What a meme that would be if we just for some reason went, we didn't find it important enough. Personally, yeah.
We held the vote. We were like, you know what, editing and getting this out in time for Friday is going to be quite tight. But you know what, the news is big enough to deserve it. So we do late. Yeah. And they did it. They announced an awful lot yesterday. How do you want to go through this, Jake? Because do we want to go through everything that they've announced in a list and then maybe tackle them, or do we want to talk them one at a time? Well, what's your?
I reckon we do it in kind of like.
You're the professional here.
We do one at a time. I reckon in sort of. I think. All right. So should we start? Should we just pick them out of a hat?
Start off. No. Let's go through an order. Because it was an entire event. Like they spent the best part like an hour. Was it?
It was 48 minutes and 46 seconds. But who's counting? Yeah.
Okay. So they did the mic drop. I'd say they started out with a mic drop, which was.
It was the Silent Hill 2 remake by Bloober Team that we had allegedly talked about 5 times over the last 6 months. And it's real, yeah. So,
first of all, it's real. Yeah, like you say, fucking great. Well, what are your thoughts on it, Jake? We don't know. We've not spoken to each other
My
about this yet.
thoughts are incredibly complex about it, actually. And much like the plot of Silent Hill 2 with the Mary and Maria, I feel like this remake is the Maria. God, that's such a good analogy. I feel we should front this up. We should front this up. I'm proud of that.
We will not go full direct spoilers with Silent Hill 2 because much like to point back to your Fallout 3 analogy earlier, I'm pretty sure that there are people listening to this now that watched that trailer yesterday, and the Silent Hill 2 remake will probably be their first exposure to Silent Hill as an entire thing. So going too hard on the subject and story of OG Silent Hill 2 would probably be, it probably wouldn't be the good play for the dear viewers at home.
Well, I've got to say that the stuff that they shown was I guess intended like that. Like they were showing a lot of stuff that wasn't giving much away, or it wasn't like
very contextless.
Yeah. So contextless is right. So I don't know, man. It makes me feel like ungrateful because like I was like that looks cool, but like all right, but actually. It doesn't, because you know what it is about Resident Evil, Silent Hill, I mean. Well, and Resident Evil, like they have a grittiness. The originals have a grittiness, but that Resident Evil 2 remake was so polished. It was like the bench, like it was the best looking graphics ever. Like when it came out on PC, Resident Evil 2 remake. Oh my gosh, the lighting and everything.
That RE engine scaled up so nice. It looked real nice.
Right, and that's the thing. So the only other game I've played recently that I was like doesn't need a remake actually, but it would be cool if there was one. But also I loved the original so much it better come in swinging, and it did, was Demon Souls, right? Which Blue Point made, which was so shiny. It was so pretty. I actually controversially still, well, maybe not controversially actually, I don't know, I haven't even Googled it. I think it's the best looking PS5 game still. I really do, and it's a launch title.
I could vibe with that. Although I've got a soft spot for Astros, honestly, because that thing was charming as hell.
And I'll tell you what, actually,
that real good.
That's good. And Ratchet and Clank had some really nice like effects in that book. Look, honestly, Demon Souls. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, there was a bit of like, and I know I don't want to sound disrespectful to Bloober Team, but shouts out to them guys or whatever. But it looked a little bit janky still. I looked a little bit.
Honestly, I'm kind of with you. And I had a bit of a little mini thread on Twitter and then kind of within Discords and whatnot, talking to folks about it. And it was a very emotional, which is, I mean, can we just say, isn't it great that video games are at the point now where like you can have these kind of thoughts and processes and emotional reflections on games? So like, what an absolutely great thing. What a great problem to have. But to give context for those, I mean, it's been 10 years since the last Silent Hill game. It's been like 15, maybe 18 since the last like Team Silent entry after they started farming it around to other European developers and with very mixed results. I actually didn't hate some of them. I thought they were very flawed, but there were some interesting ideas in there. And when you look at it like that, I was in a really weird position emotionally when I saw the reveal because, first of all, like it. On the one hand, you don't want to sound ungrateful. It has been so long. It has been 18 odd years since like a mainline Silent Hill game. It has been a decade since anything Silent Hill outside of Pachinko. My God, why isn't a remake of what is arguably the strongest game in the series not something that you're happy about? And it took me a little while to get my head down, like, because honestly, I think that for me, Silent Hill 2 was a formative game, because it hit at a very interesting time in my life, like age-wise, and like what you're thinking and developing as a person. The story of what that game brought to the table was a very like, oh my God, like it kind of resonates a bit. There's a lot of complex. What is a grown-ass man's emotional standing in the state of things? But the gameplay and the visuals were never, for me anyway, were never what really made that game stand out. And I don't know if, for me, and don't get me wrong, I'm not begrudging anyone for being excited about this. If this is your first Silent Hill, or even if you just love the game and you're super stoked that you're going to be able to play it looking better, power to you. You know what? I'm glad. And I think that's the weirdest thing, is that it totally makes business sense reason for this to happen. I completely understand. Similar to the RE2 remake. Of course, why wouldn't they do this? I've got no complaints about it existing.
Yeah. I'm
just a little sad that for me, the grand return to Silent Hill was Pyramid Head but shinier, and like I just kind of, I wish there was more, and there is more. That's the kicker of this whole, is that there is more. But I don't know. Silent Hill 2 out of all of them, I think for me, I don't feel it needed a remake. I'm glad that there is one. I'm glad people are going to be able to experience it in a modern way that it probably didn't hold up if people went back to try and play it. Especially for the first time. But boy, oh boy, I mean, look, we're all in the industry. I know devs make what they make, publishers publish what they publish. People, there's fans of things, there's people that don't like things. Mm-hmm. I don't want to shade Bloober. I don't. But I'm not going to lie, my heart did sink a little when I saw that name attached to it. It just sank like just a little, like just a tiny bit. I was like, because
I think what's a fair thing to say is that like it's one of the most prestigious horror IP in the industry.
Yeah,
and that's and arguably this could have gone to Bluepoint, for example, who are the most prestigious remakers in the industry. It could have gone to Sony Japan Studio. It could have gone to so many people, and a lot of people on the internet are wondering what is it particularly about Bloober that Konami saw, because the last two games that the Bloober team made weren't critically or commercially well received. Which is that's not my opinion. That's like if you look at like Steam reviews and you look at.
But to be fair, it's not even that for me. It's not even about the talent of the team. I mean, if you look at the actual presentation and like the technical implementation of what Bloober do, it is clear they're a talented team. But very personally, I mean, I had very similar reservations around the Final Fantasy VII remake when that was announced, when that was being put together. It was, oh God, like what made Final Fantasy special wasn't that it was a great story or that it was a great game. It's just that when it was made, those types of stories and those type of games weren't put out on the scale and budget that it did, and it blew the doors off.
Yeah,
when you take the story of Final Fantasy VII and redo it in 2022, does it hold up? And that was my concern with the remake. And they surprised me by basically playing it straight the entire way through and then throwing the rulebook out the window. My worry, you can't do that with Silent Hill 2, right? It doesn't have the scope to do that. But if you do,
you're going to upset some people, right? But it'll be ballsy.
If you do, you're going to upset people. But my concern is, and again, this isn't saying that Bloober don't have talent within them. This isn't me saying that they're not capable of making good games. This isn't me saying that they are not a well-versed horror dev. It's that their type of horror and their handling of themes, which this particular game is very, very strong in, it isn't their strength. And the interpretation, even not to get too hard into it, but even just within the trailer alone that they showed for the remake, there was some real over exposition of things that in the OG were very subtle and very kind of core themes to James as a character. There was an awful lot of mass over exposition just in the presentation of those contextless scenes that if you knew from the game, it was like, wow, you're kind of chewing the scenery a bit here, quite a lot. There's a lot of subtlety being thrown out the window here, but that's okay. And that's my concern is that the team are very good at the horror that they make, but the horror that they make has always been kind of not in line with what Silent Hill 2 strength is story-wise. And for better or for worse, if they follow the format identical 1-to-1 with that remake, okay, it's shiny Pyramid Head. Great, cool. I hope the new people enjoy it.
I guess,
but if they don't and they do change it, like I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I'm very conflicted, and I think you're Maria. Yeah, like I think that's so apt. Like,
I'm really proud of that as well. I didn't even get it off the internet either. That's 100% me, baby. And I'll tell you this, my analogy about this as well is this. It's like, and maybe a way to describe it in a bit more of a simple term to people who don't quite understand what we can mean is like, imagine you're covering another band's song. There's only imagine you're covering "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd. If you cover it identical 1-to-1, everyone will say that's cool, but Pink Floyd did that.
Yeah.
And then, unless your vocal tone or guitar tone is so much cooler, then everyone's going to go, cool, that was just like the version. Well done, guys. Great cover of the great Pink Floyd. But if you do something ballsy, like take the solo out, everyone's going to go, what the fuck did you do that for? Or they might go, you know what?
Or what?
Or you replace the solo with a solo, but the solo's on a trumpet, yeah? Then someone might go, damn, that was fresh for 2022, but most people won't. So just be careful when you're covering someone's songs, and be very careful when you're replacing a guitar solo with a trumpet.
I mean, look at what Scissor Sisters did. They literally covered "Comfortably Numb" in a really weird way and turned it into a disco track. And some people really loved it, and it was a very different take.
So
but
exactly,
I don't know. I guess what we should do actually before, because that was verging on almost negative poo-pooing.
True.
Like we say regularly here, don't yuck other people's yum. At the end of the day, I am going to buy that game. I'm going to play it. Of course I am. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason I'm not. And I hope that whatever that game comes out as, I hope Bloober smash it out the park. If they stay true to the original, I hope it's the best representation of that game, and that any gameplay changes kind of enhance it, and it brings a whole bigger audience back to Silent Hill, that mean more gets made. And if they do put their own stamp on it, you know what? I hope they prove me wrong with my concerns about their ability to handle that.
Exactly.
I hope they do. I'm excited. I'm just very, very cautious that was the leading return.
That was it. Yeah, and you're right. And I think that maybe the best way to just boil it all down is people are very cautious and almost scared in a way because of their love and respect for the OG. So it's not it could have been anybody, and I think people would still be a bit like but hey, one last thing.
It could have literally been anyone.
One last thing to mention on this though, just for those that want to know, there are close involvements from some of the OG Silent Hill people on this. So Masahiro Ito and Akira Yamaoka are back to help out. They're going to do a complete new musical style. They're going to do the soundtrack with them and the sound design, so to try and intensify and sort of work on it. So they're not. It's not a complete.
They're not just being given a load of money and an IP and told to go off and come back in a couple of years. They are being worked with, and they are being kind of shepherded in a direction.
The only other solid thing about Silent Hill 2, just to be completely clear for anyone that might have not watched it and just heard our opinion, they might be familiar with Bloober and Bloober's style. The last game was The Medium, which famously had the Silent Hill tank control-y thingy. Well, just to say that this new Silent Hill remake will feature the kind of over-the-shoulder camera akin to the Resident Evil 4 things. So that is the Silent Hill 2 remake. There was a bunch of vagaries, to be completely honest with you. So I guess we'll keep the Silent Hill 2 momentum going, and we'll say that
keep running.
There was a new film announced, Return to Silent Hill, and there was a teaser trailer, kind of a featurette from the new film, which is based on Silent Hill 2. So if you watched any of the other Silent Hill films, they were kind of based on Silent Hill 1 and 3, which are connected. It isn't really a spoiler, to be completely honest, but Silent Hill 2 is kind of... And so Silent Hill 2 is insular. So they're making a film based on this, and it's being directed by the guy who did the original, Christopher Gans, I think.
Christopher Gans?
It is Gans, I think, yeah.
I hope Sean Bean's in it again. I like him.
I liked him. Yeah, he had a terrible accent in that. He had a terrible accent.
Can we just say, though, the one film Sean Bean's been in where he doesn't die?
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Like the one, and it was Silent Hill.
Yeah,
what are your? I mean, we'll move quick on this because you know they didn't show an awful lot. It's a video game film, but what, are you excited? What were your thoughts on the original?
The thing is, video game films are normally quite shit, aren't they? But also horror films are normally quite shit, and I love horror films, and I love shit horror films. So on paper, I love shit video game horror films, and I love Silent Hill, and so there's no way it can go wrong. I actually rewatch the Silent Hill film every now and then, and I don't know why I do it to myself, but I do watch it and I love it. It's so trashy. You
know. Go ahead. Sorry. No,
I was just going to say.
Folks at home, we are having a very Jake is in the hotel room at the moment. We are having a little bit of delay with vocals passing through.
We're being very good about it. So thank you very much.
Just in case anyone's noticed that we're crossing over each other. There's like a 5 or 6 second delay at the moment between when we're saying things and each other are hearing them. So we're doing good. We're doing good, but we are getting excited about subjects we're passionate about. So we're kind of clashing with that delay a little bit at the minute. But no, I'm kind of with you. Like the first Silent Hill film was not. I've always said it like this: it was not a good film. It was a great video game film.
Yeah.
Like that. For me, what sold it, and it's a really weird thing, but that first scene in that film, or the first Silent Hill scene, where they go down, where she's walking down the alleyway into the back of the bar, and the camera pulls up and does the swoop over, which is like the direct replication of that. When I first saw that, I was like, this doesn't matter how bad this film is. It gets it. You know what I mean? Like at that point,
absolutely.
You know what? It is the truest representation of any game film that I've seen, and it wore its heart on its sleeve. Could have done without the 15-minute exposition dump at the end, and then maybe trusted the viewers a little bit more. But it was an interesting film. The others were a bit more hacky, but whatever. They're making a new Silent Hill film. They might make a legitimate effort to really try and make the strengths of Silent Hill 2 story come through, or it might be Pyramid Head in 3D poking swords through the screen again. Who fucking knows? But hey, we're getting a new one. Cool. All right.
Great news.
Awesome.
And I'm interested to see what he does with Silent Hill 2, to be honest. So yeah. There was that, and then there was. I guess I'm gonna try and segue nicely into. I'm gonna try and transition into the games with this weird kind of. And I don't really know much about it, to be honest. But there was nobody does. They announced Silent Hill Ascension, which is kind of like a new interactive video streaming experience. It's like an
interactive streaming experience. What is that? I thought this was a game at first. I legitimately had to watch this a couple of times to get my head around the fact that this wasn't a game. I thought it was like a multiplayer, the way that they initially spoke about it, it sounded like some cute collective. I was expecting like a 1v4 Dead by Daylight kind of multiplayer thing, like game as a service kind of thing. That's what. And then when they came out after and clarified, it was like, what even is that? Well, what even? Okay, it's weird. I don't think anyone really knows what it is. They were very vague, but
like a Netflix choose your own adventure kind of film, or like Twitch chat, basically. It can't be any more than that.
You know what? Cool. We should do it, Jake. We should. You know what? When that thing comes out, whatever it is, if it's something that we can collectively grab Aaron and me and you and sit down and do it together, we should do it. And we should document it.
You son of a bitch! I'm in. Yeah. We'll do it. Because I feel like that'd be a good return to Silent Hill. Because after this, what am I going to do after this episode of podcast, guys? I've got no more Silent Hill to talk about. I'm going to have to find a new obsession. I'm going to be annoying Tomas Sala every week about Bulwark updates. I've got there was I think there was only two more. There was Silent Hill F. I'm saving the best to last, in my opinion. But there was Silent Hill F, which had a teaser trailer, which is like a completely new story in the Silent Hill universe, set in the 60s Japan with this like beautiful
1960s Japan, and like a lot of floral focus in it. Like they had that familiar red goopy Silent Hill residue, but it was all splintering off into like flowers and lots of flowers coming out of things you don't want flowers coming out of. Was basically that trailer.
There was a lot of body horror, and the funny thing is, actually, there was in the rumor pool a couple of months ago that I brought up to Aaron. I was saying that there was a Silent Hill Sakura, however you pronounce that word. It's like the blossom, right? That was rumored, and then there was leaked images of this, and it was real. So, I guess the interesting points on this one are I've got two. One is more interesting than the other, and I'll let you decide which one. It's written by Ryokishi07, who's a Japanese visual novelist, and he does a lot of murder mysteries and psychological.
The kind of soft novellas on the horror stuff, like so well known. So like, good dope that dude is involved in the Eastern themed Silent Hill entry. Like, okay, let's go.
That's really cool, isn't it? And here's the weird one I've got for you. The producer of Silent Hill F, and this came out afterwards, is Motoi Akamoto, who previously worked at Nintendo and worked on such spooky games as Luigi's Mansion and Pikmin 1 and 2.
Wow. Wow, I did not know that. That one's news to me. Okay, well, you know what? I saw similarly, and I'm going to make myself a hypocrite here. I saw similarly that a lot of people were kind of, I forget the name. Is it Neobran?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The devs that have been highlighted as the main heads of Silent Hill F, and they've basically done the live service Resident Evil games, so like the RE-verse stuff, all the stuff that never really landed, never really took off. No, not a massively great track record. And a lot of people going, okay, cool. Yeah, there was a cool flowery CGI trailer. But the devs making it have only done bad Resident Evil games, so whatever, the game is going to suck. And I don't know. We know nothing. You've got a 2-minute CGI trailer. Like, let's wait and see what that is. Let's see. I know that sounds almost hypocritical considering what I was saying my concerns were for the Bloober one, but we know what Silent Hill 2 is as a game. Like we've got past dev record what that game is. We got no idea what F is. It could be a multiplayer fucking who knows?
That is it.
No one knows.
That is it, isn't it?
So,
you're dead. You're right. So the thing is, the one thing they could be vague about, which was Silent Hill 2, they were very not vague about, which I guess was kind of made sense. But the things that they probably should have given us a bit more information about, I found that kind of left people wanting more. But they announced one more game, which I think is probably the most interesting.
The one I'm most excited for.
Yeah,
I'm glad that we're in line with this. We haven't rehearsed this.
No.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, so there's again, it's another vague kind of CGI thing that no one knows anything about, but it's called Silent Hill Townfall, and it's being developed by No Code from Stories Untold and Observation, like those games which people really loved, and confusingly. And I'm not sure the sort of inner workings of it, but it's being published by Annapurna Interactive instead of Konami, despite it being a Silent Hill game. Annapurna rock, by the way.
Which is, first of all, shout out to Annapurna, like great caliber of like everything they touch at the moment. They are making super smart decisions with everything that they're doing. It's really, really cool to see. But the Stories Untold was a real surprise for me. That game I literally stumbled upon randomly. I saw like a random review of it when it came out. I said, that game sounds neat. I'm going to play it, and was really, really surprised by, like, it was not a flawless game by any means. It definitely had issues, but the scope of the team and that game was so good, and they managed to genuinely not totally freak me out of my skin, but there was some really nice unnerving across the stroke of that game's acts content in there, and similar with Observation. Really, like what a really weird, completely freaky game that was.
Strange.
Didn't stick the landing, so some would say, which is hard to do when you build yourself up, that kind of thing. But regardless, like, those devs are really, really interesting. They're very talented. They've made some, while not direct horror, some very disturbing, kind of questionable Yeah. You know what I mean? Like games themed around that kind of stuff. And you know what? I'm way more interested to see what comes out of Silent Hill F and what comes out of Townfall than anything in that presentation. I want to see. I know it sounds weird considering we kind of bemoaned that for like 5 years they were just giving the Silent Hill IP out to devs and saying do something weird with it, and we didn't get anything great. But honestly, if you're not going to go back to the core team, Silent Team, then that's what you do. There's a lot of weird stories to tell based on the Silent Hill concept. Like Silent Hill is not a horror concept. It is, but the whole thing, the whole point of Silent Hill is just the completely different ways that trauma is processed. That's the whole point of the series. That is the whole self-flagellation of an environment and what you can, how trauma is inflicted upon people and how different people react to it.
Very good. Very, very well put.
And outside of horror, like there's a lot of different ways to do that, and everyone has their own different experiences and traumas and methods of processing. I think the series is at its best when people are doing that in different ways. I loved The Room. I loved Silent Hill 4. It was one of my favorites. It wasn't well reviewed, but some people say it killed the series. But what a really weird interpretation of that entire thing. It was great. It was, and I think if they're not going to get Team Silent back and they're not going to give them free reign, then you know what? Just find interesting devs, find interesting people, put the game in their hands, and let them do their own interpretations, and let it live. Live.
There we go. So I can't believe it. We finally did it. Silent Hill. Oh my god. So that's it. So you can look forward to.
Can I drop some breaking news?
Yep.
Are you seeing the news that I'm seeing?
No, I'm not looking at any. Go on.
It looks like we've lost the Prime Minister.
I normally have the breaking news button, which it's been a fan favorite actually over the last few weeks, but I don't today. So
breaking news.
Wow, and I mean,
I can't say for sure, but it looks like Liz Truss has resigned. So we got that going.
Okay,
I could be wrong. Basically, it's at the point of everyone is talking about that she's about to resign, and right now Sky News and BBC have got like a live camera outside number 10 that's been sat there for like 10 minutes. And so if she doesn't resign, sorry, Liz, but apparently breaking news. She.
Oh, there we go. Thomas Sala for Prime Minister campaign begins now. Show me more Bulwark.
Okay, do it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's do sweepstakes. Who do you reckon it's going to be? Let's not give a serious answer. Let's give a silly answer. Who's our Prime Minister? Who's our Prime Minister at the time of recording? You're saying Thomas? Yep, okay. Well, I'm going to say that Leo's not in the office today, so I reckon it's him.
That would be good. I
reckon the reason Leo didn't turn up to the office today is because he's outside number 10, just jangling his keys menacingly, like, right.
If you want something doing, do it yourself. All right, well, thank you very much, Gareth.
What a show.
We had a lovely one today.
Fucking hell. We are ending. Oh, God, I don't know if the kids at home will be able to see that. No, they can't. We're ending at 13:37.
Late as hell. Baby, thank you very much for joining us.
We are finishing at late o'clock.
We'll see you next week for the Halloween spookiness. And thank you very much, guys. Thanks for putting up with the hotel.
New Silent Hill, new Prime Minister. What a time to be alive.
Goodbye, stay warm, and see you soon.
Wired. Unplugged.